People pop in here, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Angela Snyder. I'm one of the academic advisors here in the TRIO office at Mount Wachusett. And we're super honored to have with us today Mr. Cletus Thomas. He's an educator with American Consumer Credit Counseling, and he's going to teach us all about the basics of budgeting. I can't wait. Just a few housekeeping things. I want you guys to keep in mind that this session is going to be recorded. So, just keep that in mind. Whether you want your camera on or off is fine with us. We look for participation, but you can feel free to turn it off if you don't want to be seen on the recording. And this recording will be available in about 72 hours, I think, on our Blackboard site if you're looking for, if you want to reference it again. And keep your eyes peeled towards the end of the presentation. I will pop a survey into the chat. If you wouldn't mind filling it out, that would be great. Thanks so much, Mr. Thomas. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, guys. Thanks for joining. By the way, my rule is if you have a question, ask away. Okay? Put it in the chat box or whatever. But we're talking about budgeting. And budgeting is the 101 of money. Nothing works without a budget. And there's two parts to a budget. The plan, budgeting is the plan. But I always say the other part of it is that kind of like we call the expense tracker. It's kind of like my diet. This is what I plan to eat today. That's in my diet budget. But when I write down what I actually ate that day, the two have no correlation. Okay, so budget's the plan, but one of the first things we talk about is doing an expense tracker to write down where you spend your money. And I don't care if it's a stick of gum, you write it down. And the first time you do it, you'll be stunned. I always say people have an oh my God moment where they say, oh my God, I can't believe I spend this much on this. With me, it was Dunkin' Donuts. I used to stop every morning for a cup of coffee and a bagel on the way to the office. Didn't sound like much, but I was spending $1,300 a year at Dunkin' Donuts. That was just in the morning. So that was my oh my God moment. With other people, it's going out for lunch, going out for dinner, clothes, lottery tickets, whatever. But the first thing you want to do is write down where you spend your money. And sometimes people say to me, oh God, Cleet, this is going to take forever. No, not really. When you think about it, we spend money maybe four or five times a day max. So it's going to take you 5 minutes when you get home to write down where you spend your money. And as you go from a day to a week to a month, etc., the more information you have, the more intelligent your decisions can be. And there's two types of expenses in a budget: needs and wants. And it's important to understand that wants are never, ever, ever satisfied. You will never make enough, short of being Warren Buffett or Bill Gates or whomever, the owner of, who's that guy now that get divorced? What was his name? I don't know, Amazon. Short of being those guys, you'll never have enough money to satisfy all your wants. Because what happens when you satisfy one want? Anybody?
There's another one that fills its place.
Exactly right. Exactly right. I mean, I've never met a guy with a boat that doesn't want a bigger boat. It's never enough, all right? I always say when I started off as a teenager, you just wanted any car that ran. Then you wanted a newer used car. Then you wanted a new car. And, all of a sudden now you want a BMW. So as you get older and as your income increases, your wants increase as well. But it's important to understand it's never satisfied. So a lot of budgeting is compromising on those wants. To understand you cannot have it all. So you start making decisions. And again, I'm not here to tell anybody how to spend your money. You guys are adults. You can do anything you want. But it's important to understand where you spend your money and then make decisions. We have a lot of stress in life, and certainly these days it's just incredible, the stress we're having. But if you can live within your means, that eliminates a lot of stress. It's the number 2 reason that people get divorced is over money, okay? And we tend to focus on money not as a tool, but as a, I don't know, way to make us happy. And truly, money does not make us happy. And that's the old saying, but it's the truth. So it's important to understand where you spend your money and then make decisions on that money. Is this worth it to me? And can I do it for less money? You know, one of the things I do now with Dunkin' Donuts, of course, is most of the days I make a cup of coffee at home, put it in a to-go cup, bring it in the car. I get Lender's bagels, you know, 6 for $2. I make them at home. I put cream cheese on it and I travel to work that way. I've gone from $1,300 a year down to really probably about $150 a year. And sometimes when I do these workshops, people will say to me, oh, but Clete, you know, if you made more money, you'd go back to Dunkin' Donuts. And I say, well, hell yes, right? Unfortunately, the want doesn't go away, right? I love their coffee. It's better than what I can make at home. Their bagels are better, and I don't have to make it. Yeah, if I made more money, that's one of the first things I would put back on my list, okay? But from what I'm trying to accomplish, and I'm 68 years old, God willing, I'm trying to retire before I die. So to try and get to that point, I can't be doing that. So I want to also go over different, we'll get back to that, but I want to start going over the different types of expenses. Give me an idea what a fixed expense is, or an example of fixed expense.
Your rent.
Rent, right? Your rent, your mortgage, student loans possibly, although not these days, are in deferment. Called fixed expense is an expense that occurs every single month for the exact same amount of money. And those are much easier to budget for, aren't they? Then we have variable expenses. Can somebody give me an example of what a variable expense is?
Groceries for the month?
Yeah, exactly right. People forget. People sometimes are surprised. Groceries are a variable expense. So want utilities, right? Typically electricity, if you have AC, the electricity is very high during the summer, but relatively low in the winter. But the heating is almost non-existent in the summer, but certainly high in the winters. So a variable expense is an expense that occurs every single month, but not for the same amount of money. And those are a little bit more difficult to budget for, aren't they? And then we have what's called periodic expenses. What do you think a periodic expense is? Or example of one?
Your hair, hair appointments?
Yeah, we'd put that in a different category, but I'll get to that. But you're right, okay? I use excise tax, water bill, you know, and for instance, my wife and I get a water bill in January, in July, and the water bill's $180 every 6 months. Now, if we don't plan for that, that's a hit to our budget, okay? And all of a sudden we get an unexpected bill for $180. So now we either have to rob from Peter to pay Paul, or God forbid, use a credit card to charge for things that we should be paying cash for. So variable expenses are difficult to budget for, and periodic expenses are much more difficult to budget for. And then we have what's called discretionary expenses. And that's the fun stuff, right? And by the way, it's important to do fun stuff, right? It's important to have wants and to get those wants. If not, we're just existing, okay? So it's important to have wants. Just got to prioritize how you're going to do it. So one of the ways you can make some of these expenses fixed, or at least easier to budget for, with heating, right? You can go on a payment plan, 12-month payment plan, okay? What we do on that water bill, my wife and I have a checking account. We have a long-term emergency account, and I'll get into that. And then we have what's called an operating account. So what happens is each month we put $30 into that operating savings account. Because, by the way, savings accounts are free to open, all right? I put $30 a month into that operating savings account. And then, so when that bill comes in 6 months later, we have that 180 in there, and we transfer it to our checking account. We paid that bill. So now we made a fixed, periodic expense into a fixed expense. We do the same thing with maintenance on the car, and that's a little bit more difficult as well. You know you're going to have maintenance, but who knows what's going to go wrong? And certainly depending upon the year of the car. My wife drives I have a company car, so that's good, but my wife drives a 2013 Corolla. So we know something's going to have to be done, but we don't know what. So we budget $50 a month just for that car. So we have $600 a month put into that account for car repairs and car maintenance. Now, some years it works out great, it's perfect. Some years we make a little money, but some years we don't. But at least we're trying to make an effort, okay, to make those expenses fixed. And I mentioned the emergency savings account. We must have an emergency savings account. As we can see now, life happens to us all. Nobody gets out unscathed. Something is always going to happen. And it's important to have an emergency savings account to do that. And we used to recommend that you have 3 months worth of expenses in an emergency account. Now we've actually upped it to 6 months. And you know what, some people with 6 months in emergency account, even now it's going to present a problem because this has been going on for 6 months, okay? But it's important to have that emergency account. Just can't stress it enough. And when I talk about that, you know, the whole thing with savings, it's not so much how much you put in each pay period. It's just don't take it out, right? I don't care, you know, if you don't have an emergency account, please start one. And if all you can honestly do is $20 a paycheck, okay, that's fine. But by God, put that $20 in. And the key is, don't take it out. All right? When we say an emergency account, we're talking an emergency account. We're not talking that you get, you know, tickets to the Patriots game, at least maybe next year. Or, you know, there's a sale at Macy's. These are not emergencies, okay? The emergency is literally an emergency. So it's critical to have an emergency account. So let's talk about how to save money. When you start writing down where you spend money, then you start saying, okay, how can I save? How can you save on food? And that's always one of the biggies. How do you think we can save on food?
Buy in bulk.
Buy in bulk? Sure. Depending upon how much space you have, you know, and how long the lifespan is, absolutely. What else?
Coupons, like shopping the flyers.
Yeah, absolutely. Coupons. What else?
Actually eating at home, not eating out.
Yeah, we count, that's a good idea, but we actually count eating out as discretionary income. All right, that's above and beyond. But you're right, eating out, eating in, it's what, you know, it's funny. The debt on credit cards have actually gone down over the last 6 months because of this coronavirus. And one of the reasons that they've interviewed some people, and again, these are the people that's fortunately still working, but they're not going out for dinner. Everybody's staying in, and they're saving a fortune. They're saving a fortune. They're not driving as much, right? People are saving money on gas, things like that. But what else? What else? How can we save money on food? How about don't go hungry, right? There was a study done that people spend 20% more on food when they go hungry. And I'm convinced guys are the worst. I mean, if I go to the store and I'm hungry, I mean, there is nothing in that frozen food aisle that doesn't look attractive, right? That doesn't even get into the bakery department. How about don't go with kids if at all possible, right? I mean, sometimes you'll buy them stuff just to keep them quiet. How about go with a list? Okay? Go with a list. Okay. How about clothes? How do we save money on clothes, do you think?
Buy secondhand.
You know, we used to call these places used clothing stores. Now they're consignment stores. Just like used cars are now previously owned. But you know what? It's true. My wife, and I think last year, I didn't realize that these consignment stores, they have sales. They have end of the season sales. And of course, for these stores, the end of the season for summer is like the beginning of July. But she went there and she got like two blouses and 4 capri pants, and they were all $1 a piece. Okay? And except for the people I tell about this at workshops, nobody knows. Nobody knows that she bought them at a consignment store, right? I mean, I've had this discussion with my wife. I don't know how many black shoes one woman needs. Is there a limit? Is there too many black shoes? Anybody? No? All right. Same thing with black dresses. I don't know how many black dresses one woman needs, but it's certainly more than one. And by the way, there was a study done when people go clothes shopping and they put something in the cart or the basket and they walk around for 15 minutes, half the time they will return it. Half the time they will return it. You just give yourself some time to think, you know, do I really need this? I mean, how many times when you go to clean the closet, you look at something, you say, geez, I wore that once, I haven't worn it in 5 years. Okay? Things like that. You know, shop end of season, things like that. I mean, shop at Kohl's, you know, Kohl's always has a sale every single day. And one of the things we say, and of course I'm 68, so the joke is I'm never in style, so I'm never out of style. But I shop at Kohl's. I try to buy pretty good quality clothes to last. Again, I'm not in style, so I don't have to worry about them going out of style. Of course, you know, it's always on sale at Kohl's, no matter what. Then we get those Kohl's bucks. And then if you use a credit card, you can save more money. And that's how we do things. And by the way, when we buy the clothes there, we pay for them at the register, but my wife goes back to customer service right then and there and pays it off. Because if you're buying clothes and you're charging it, and first of all, if you're not paying it off in full when that bill comes in, well, now you kind of lost a lot of the sales value, right? And if you're taking 6 months to pay it back, I mean, you're paying above and beyond retail, okay? We use credit cards for all the wrong reasons. Has anybody ever got a energy audit on their home or apartment? Okay. These are great, okay? They come in and they'll spend 3 or 4 hours in your home. And I used to say it's for free. Actually, we pay for this. If you look at your electric bill, you pay about $1.50 each month to go into this fund for people, these companies to go out, send people out and do an energy audit. I mean, they'll give you all those free circular bulbs for free, as long as you have a bulb in the lamp at the time. They'll check for drafts. They'll fill drafts. They give you a low flow thing on the shower head, things like that. They'll give you credit if you need to replace things, insulation. Boy, it's well worth it. Well worth it. Okay.
And you request that from whoever
Electric
you're.
company. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And I think it's Mass Saves too. If you go to masssaves.com, that's another place. By the way, we also, you know, it's funny, budgeting. One of the places I've done this too is at Berkeley School of Music. And this is for the teachers. And afterwards, one of the teachers came up to me and said, you know, Cleet, but I do so well at budgeting, but it's those unexpected expenses that mess me up. And I said to her, well, give me an example of an unexpected expense. She said, well, Christmas and birthdays. not only are they not unexpected, they occur on the same stinking day, right? But we simply don't plan for it. We simply don't plan for it. So then all of a sudden, certainly around Christmas time, people are charging up a storm to buy these Christmas presents. And then, because I have my grandkids now, but I just remember with my kids, you know, you buy them a toy at Christmas, within 3 months, either they've broken it, they've got bored with it, or they have more fun with the box it came in. But you're still paying for it for years. Has anybody ever looked at their credit card statement? They're required to tell you, if you make the minimum payment on that credit card, how many years it's going to take you to pay it. It's staggering how many years and how much they're going to earn in interest. So you plan for those birthdays, plan for that Christmas shopping. Have a budget, a hard budget. A hard budget to say, this is what we're going to spend. I don't know about you guys, but of course, years ago, when my nieces and nephews were younger, you know, we'd get them something for their birthday, something for Christmas. And as years went by, we slowly dropped them off. Now at 21, you get nothing. Okay. In my family now, you know, we do a Yankee swap, things like that for Christmas. My wife and I, we've been married 44 years. We don't buy each other anything for Christmas. My God, if she wanted it, she would have already bought it, and vice versa. So you look at, you know, you just look at where you're spending your money and make decisions. Is this worth it to me? How can I save money by doing it? Right? And I'm a big believer in cash, because I think cash hurts more. You know, you go to these Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks and people holding up their phones, all right? They're charging it that way, you know? Cash hurts more. I remember growing, you know, of course not now, but again, when I was younger, we always walked around with I always walked around with $100 bill in my wallet. Not now, but it seemed like once I broke that $100 bill, it went in a matter of days, okay? It went in a matter of days. So I'm a big believer in cash, okay? Certainly nowadays, you should be taking your lunch in, things like that, okay? Can somebody think of any other ways you can save money?
I have a way. I make cards for like holidays with like paper and just decorate them,
That's
so I don't have to buy any cards.
That's fantastic. Yeah. You know, and some of those times, those are the most precious gifts. Okay. How many times you look at your refrigerator and, you know, you see the paintings on there of your kids when they were 5 years old, you couldn't, you know, you don't know what the hell they drew, but because they drew it, you hang it up. All right. You're absolutely right. And I also say, you know, it's funny how, you know, you take a 3-year-old child, they could care less what they're wearing. As long as they're warm in the winter and cool in the summer, they do not care what they're wearing. But these, and I know generally speaking, these mothers, you know, they spend a fortune. And the reason they spend a fortune, they want to impress other mothers, right? Because the child doesn't care. The child does not care what they're wearing. I mean, certainly one way to save money on clothes is, you know, hand-me-downs, hand-me-ups, all right? Because these babies, I mean, they wear things for about a month and a half, and then they're outgrowing them. Especially if you have family members that, you know, nieces and nephews, that helps tremendously. We talk about, too, about, you know, saving money on, you know, of course, nowadays, nobody's going to the movies. But back when it was, I mean, to take 2 people to the movie, what does it cost? I don't know, 30 bucks, 40 bucks? I don't go. When you last went to the movies, how much was it? Anybody remember? No. Of course, you can now, of course, people are using it, but even back then, you could use Redbox, Netflix, things like that. And I'm a firm believer, too, children simply want to spend time with you. That's it, okay? They don't care what they're doing. They really don't. Just, all they want is to spend time with you, and that makes all the difference in the world. You know, even now you can still go to parks, things like that, you know, and they love it. We, you know, go hiking short distances or a scavenger hunt, things like that. You can do a lot of things with children for very short money. They don't care as far as I can see. They simply want to spend time with you, okay? And you also want to have financial goals. It's important to have goals. When we call them short-term goals, long-term goals, and midterm goals. Oh, before I get into that, just the budget itself. I mean, you could Google budgets on computer, online, and there's hundreds of them you could use, okay? I know people that do it, you know, they get Excel, they get pie charts and graphs and all this. Again, you know, my wife pays the bills. Even though I teach it, I'm not actually allowed to pay bills. It must have been something I said at the altar, but since day one, she's paid the bills. But to this day, she uses a 6-column accounting paper. That works for her, okay? So whatever works for you, you can make it as simple or as sophisticated as you like. But it's basic math, right? This is what I spent, and this is what I have coming in, okay? And if the expenses exceed your income, you got 3 options. You either increase your income, decrease your expenses, or a combination of both, okay? It's just so critical to live within your means. Again, I hop on this, but we get calls all the time where people are just drowning in debt. You know, I do a lot of financial coaching. Inevitably, I get a call at least once a week where somebody says, Cleet, you know, having a problem. I say, what's the problem? I say, well, I have too much credit card debt. I say, well, no, that's not the problem. That's the result of the problem. The problem is you're simply overspending, okay? And you're using credit cards for what they were not intended for, okay? You're using credit cards for what they are not intended for, and that's what happens. Especially now, you know, often people now, if they take a 10% hit in income, they're in trouble. They are in trouble because we're notorious for living up to what we spend, okay? Living up to what we spend. No matter how much we make each week, we spend it. So any hit in that creates a problem. And by the way, I hope everybody who has a 401k is at least putting in what the college matches. What do they match, do you know? Who's putting into the 401k? Nobody? Angela. There's not going to be any Social Security left. Trust me. My generation is spending it all.
I know, believe me, it's a big worry for us.
Well, it really is. I mean, you know, it's funny. People my age, at least our defense was, when I first started working, there was a retirement plan. Everybody gave you a retirement plan. Halfway through, they stopped the retirement plans, okay? But at least with your age, Angela, you know from day one, there is no pension. There is no pension. The only thing you're going to get is what you put away, okay? Do you even know what the college matches?
I don't. I'm actually a part-time employee, so I have no
All right.
idea. I don't even know if that's like available to me, but.
Check.
You know.
I'd be surprised if it's not, okay? If it's not. Even if it's, you know, sometimes they match 1%, 1.5%, 2%, but it's found money. And trust me, if you don't have it, you know, I do reverse mortgage counseling as well. These are for people my age that need it. They're basically house poor. They have all this equity in their property, but they can't get at it because they don't qualify for a conventional mortgage because of their income. They're trying to live on, you know, $1,500, $1,600 a month in Social Security, and they can't do it. So now they have to get a reverse mortgage and hope that will last them. begging you guys to go put into a 401k. All right. So now let's talk about long, short, and midterm goals. We all need that, okay? To be honest, I only have one goal, and that's to retire, okay? At my age, I only have one goal. But your goals, you know, you could have, we consider short-term goals you want to accomplish in less than a year. Midterm goals you want to accomplish in 2 to 3 years. And long-term goals, we, you know, consider what are you going to accomplish in 5 years. And sometimes those long-term goals are buying a house, right? Do you rent, Angela?
No, we own a home.
You still living at home?
No, we own our home.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah. That might explain why you're not putting into the 401k though.
I know, it's horrible. My husband has a pension with his job, and
Fantastic.
we're banking on that, but I am gonna start, I promise.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I know my daughter's a teacher, so she's got a great retirement.
Yeah, that's what my husband is also. So.
Yeah, but of course they gotta pay into it, pay big bucks into it.
Right.
Yeah. But it could be getting a house or getting a car. Again, going on vacation, right? You can have fun goals, right? It all doesn't have to be, oh my God, I got to do this, this, and this. But it's important to have financial goals. And we refer to them as SMART goals, S-M-A-R-T. They have to be specific, right? Some people say, oh, my goal is to pay off my credit cards. Well, that's nice, but what's your plan? Okay, what are you going to do to pay them off? Of course, the first thing is you stop charging, okay? But I'm gonna pay off or pay this amount each month. At the end of 2 years, I will have my credit cards paid off. So it has to be a specific goal. It has to be measurable. How are you gonna define success? Simple as that. How are you gonna define that you're accomplishing what you're gonna do? It's gotta be attainable, which means it's gotta be, you know, it's gotta be a goal you can get to. Simple as that. Realistic, R is for realistic. Don't set impossible goals. You know, the old saying, you know, whenever you're trying to lose weight, they don't say, you know, your goal shouldn't be, I want to drop 80 pounds. You know, goal should be, all right, I want to drop this much each week or something like that, or I just simply want to start, you know, exercising, things like that. And finally, timely, okay? It's got to be within a certain amount of time, but it's important to have goals. Okay. This usually goes pretty quickly because I know we're only about 35 minutes into it. But people think this budgeting is complicated. It's not. It's not. We simply have to do it, right? And that's what happens. People don't do it. And that's what gets them into trouble. They simply do. They have no idea where they're spending their money. And boy, once you start doing a budget, it's amazing, you know, how much simpler life is. You know, again, from counseling, you know, people are afraid to answer the phone because they know it's a debt collector, things like that. Or as I said, you know, husband and wives or partners have fights over money. You know, it's funny, we spend money, not funny, haha, but we spend money when we're happy. We spend money when we're sad. We spend money when we're angry. We spend money when our significant other is spending money and we want our peace, okay? So we spend money for a lot of the wrong reasons, right? As I said at the beginning, money is simply a tool. That's all it is, simply a tool. And of course, to survive, you need this money, but the money itself is not the goal. It's what you can do with the money. That's the goal. Okay, we're gonna end this a little early, Angela. Okay, I know everybody's gonna be disappointed, but I'm gonna leave you with this. I live on $40 a week. Now it's not a life, it's not an allowance. It's what my wife and I have decided I can afford to live on. I have a company car, so I don't have to pay for gas. But so all my $40 revolves around food. Simple as that, okay? And up until this virus started, every Monday morning, I would drive to Hartford, to a homeless shelter to help people out down there from counseling. And I live in Pembroke. I don't know if you guys know where Pembroke is, but it's on the way to the Cape, okay? I'm about 20 minutes from the bridge, okay? And I get to go to Hartford. Now, and I'm a stickler for being on time. I am never late for an in-person workshop. So I start out Monday morning, I get to Hartford, and I'm early. Well, I can eat. So now I said, well, now I know I'm going to have breakfast, but what's the best value? And they still have Denny's down there, okay? And they have an all-you-can-eat pancakes for $4, okay? Again, I'm not teaching health. I can get a cup of coffee for $2.06, and they give you a cup of coffee to go. I get my senior citizen discount, 15%. So, I mean, still gonna leave a tip, but I'm out the door for about $7 on a Monday morning. But I only get $40 a week. That's like $5.80 a day. So I haven't gotten out of Connecticut, and I'm already in the hole Monday morning. So Tuesday, I have to do what I hate to do. I gotta bring my lunch. And I hate to bring my lunch. I hate sandwiches, just hate them, right? But if I don't do that, by Thursday, I'm gonna be out of money. And boy, you do not wanna go to my wife for more money, because now you gotta justify it, and it's just not worth it. But if I bring my lunch on Tuesday and Wednesday, by now I'm ahead of the game. So come Thursday or Friday, I mean, I can go to McDonald's and get those value meals, okay? Or Friday, if I'm really in great shape, Olive Gardens have all-you-can-eat pasta, okay? And if I'm in really do well, you know, by Saturday, I could have an extra $10. And what do I tell my wife on Sunday? Nothing, I want my $40, okay? But every day, I'm making decisions on that money. And of course, it's not life-threatening decisions, but again, I go back to think. Before you spend money, think. Is this worth it? Is this gonna make me that happy that I'm willing to spend this much money? And if the answer is yes, and you have it, well, that's fine, okay? But think, just think. That's all I ask, all right? Any questions? Anything I didn't cover that people thought I would?
I have a question for
I'm gonna get
people.
ahead.
For people who don't have 401k through work, what should we look into for retirement plans?
Roth, there's a Roth. Okay, you can put in your own 401k. First of all, you don't have to do it through a company. You can create your own 401k. And I know you can, in the 401k, of course, there's two types of investments, retirement accounts, a 401k or a Roth, an IRA or a Roth IRA, right? And I'll tell you a story. Up until about 15 years ago, I used to run a mortgage company. Of course, we all know what happened to the mortgage business. But boy, back then I was rolling in the dough. I used to go to Vegas 3 times a year and get comped going. Haven't been back since. But then we opened up a Roth. I opened up a Roth IRA, and on a Roth IRA, you tax it. They actually tax you for the income now, but when I start drawing out from that Roth, then it's not taxable. Whereas a 401k or 401k or an IRA account, it's a deduction. Whatever you put into an IRA account is a deduction that you're not taxed on, but when you start drawing it out, now they tax you. But yeah, you can certainly start your own retirement, and you know, please do. I mean, I'm almost to the point now, actually, at 70, they start requiring you to take out money, but they just increased that to 71, because I'm still working, you know? So I don't want to take it out yet. But yeah, I would strongly suggest that.
And how, I'm sorry. And how do you pick who you want to start that with, because it's not something you can do through like your personal bank, right? It has to be something like
No, banks will do it. Banks always have the investors. Now, there's a few ways you can do this. You can put the money you're depositing into an IRA into almost any type of account. Right? You could put into a savings account, which pays, 0.10% these days. You can put into a money market account, a CD. But these people that work for this bank, and that's all they do is investments. They partner with these big investment companies. Okay. Geez, all of a sudden I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, geez, I can't believe it. Come on, somebody give me a big investment name of a big investment company.
Merrill Lynch.
Yeah, good, perfect. Merrill Lynch. Thank you. But then they go to Merrill Lynch. I mean, sometimes what happens if you go to Merrill Lynch, sometimes there's a minimum requirement, so it's tough to get started. Often they do say, well, sit down with a financial planner. Well, if you don't have a lot of money, it's going to cost you more with the financial planner than what you're going to earn. But you can start off on your own. Just see somebody at the bank. But when you do, make sure you understand what's going on. Okay, how much are they going to charge you for this? What is the investment company going to charge you? What is this going to cost? Okay, very important to understand that. Right? But yeah, you can start it, and you could go right to the bank. Not to pry, but who do you bank with?
I bank with DCU.
Okay, I gotta believe that they have somebody that will do that. Okay.
Okay.
I'd be stunned if they don't, because almost every bank, in fact, every bank I know of has a guy that works with you on investments. So I'm telling you, DCU will have one. If nothing else, you can always just pick his or her brain. Just sit down with them for 15, 20 minutes. They're not going to hold a gun to your head. You say
Right.
not to, or just say, I'm going to think about it. But yeah, please, 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 please.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have a quick question. Do you have any suggestions for banking accounts, like checking accounts, like one bank versus the other, or things we should keep our eyes peeled for when opening an
Well,
account?
it's got a lot to do with what you're trying to accomplish with your checking account. Okay. Some people, want to do money transfers, or, they want to send money home to their relatives in South America, things like that. Or, they have payroll deduction, which is usually a big help. But certainly you want to get a checking account that's as free as possible. And you can always find a checking account that's free. Okay. Especially, I don't generally say this, but at a credit union, all right, chances are you can get an account free. But you also want to look at what are the ATM fees. Again, use kids today live on, nobody walks around with money. They go to the ATM all the time. See what that's like. How much is the fee? So really figure out what you want and then peruse exactly all the fees. That's what I would do. But you should be able to get one for free. Although it's funny, I just found this out. My wife went to transfer money. My son and his wife and family live in Connecticut, and then they're buying a house. They're moving to South Carolina. My wife's not happy. They have 3 kids, but to do the closing, they needed $10,000 until they sell the house. So we sent them $10,000, but we transferred it, and it cost my wife $25 to transfer that. I was stunned at the cost. Now it's the first time we've done it in forever, but that's what I would do. And the same thing with the savings account. Make sure there's no cost. Sometimes if you get below a certain amount, they start charging fees. So yeah, just simply do your homework, I would suggest. Anything else? Are we all having fun?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Clete. That was super helpful and really insightful.
My
I
pleasure.
did put the survey in the chat. If you guys can take a quick moment and fill that out, that would be great. And anybody who hasn't already changed their name to their first and last name, that would be great, because we are taking attendance for this. But if there are no further questions, we'll just say thank you so much.
All right, take it easy, guys. Good luck.
All right.
Thank
All right, Angel, I'll be
you.
talking to you.
Bye-bye.